again, we'll conclude this week by turning back to China and see how ancestor cults have been practiced there from time immemorial. Indeed, in this video, I'll be dealing with what can be referred to as ancestor worship in China. For thousands of years, this worship was an integral part of Chinese state doctrine until the empire's abolition in 1911. It is a founding principle of the organization of Chinese society. Today, this worship is still practiced by a majority of Chinese, but in new forms. Let's see how this worship was born, what it consisted of, and what it became. By the end of the Neolithic period, in small rural communities, people were burying the bones of deceased ancestors in the corner of the cottage, under the place where the harvested seeds were stored and would sometimes mysteriously germinate. At that time, it was believed that the souls of the dead people roamed in that corner, waiting to be reincarnated in a newborn, and that each family had a given number of souls who could disincarnate and reincarnate ad infinitum within the same group, and so was the foundation of ancestor worship. Very early in antiquity, during the Shangyin dynasty, the king was considered to be the link between heaven and man. He was the only one who could worship to the gods of soil and millet and to heaven, and he could succeed in calming the powerful gods of mountains and rivers responsible for natural disasters. The king practiced these rituals by invoking the mediation of his own ancestors. To encourage a vassal to be loyal, the king attributed to him a number of ancestors to honor. The vassal was given the right to build his own temple where he kept the tablets bearing the names of each of his ancestors. By obtaining an ancestral line, the knighted vassal could rely on the survival of his soul after death. In case of a serious action by the vassal, a rebellion for example, the king could reduce the number of his ancestors or eliminate its entire line by destroying his family temple or burning the tablets of his ancestors. Confucius was shocked by the decadent attitude of his fellow citizens. He said that a truly virtuous man is the one who strictly follows the rites, and among the rites prescribed by Confucius, we note those concerning the family and ancestor worship. The most important one is Filial Devotion. Each generation has a number of rights and duties with respect to other generations. The eldest son is the only one who can practice worship of his ancestors, ensuring by this way the survival of their souls in the afterlife. This is a major reason why people absolutely wanted a son. When ancestor worship was performed perfectly, the family got protection and could enjoy happiness in 3 ways: long lineage, fu, honors within the public service, lu, and longevity, shou. Confucius then based the social order on family order. Like the son who must respect his father, the father must respect his lord, the lord must respect his supervisor, and the supervisor of the supervisors must respect the king, later the emperor, the father of the nation, who must respect heaven. In return, everyone had duties towards his inferiors. First institutionalized for political purposes, ancestor worship became a state religion enabling the production of disciplined citizens. What did ancestor worship consist in? There were ceremonies during which the king practiced the sacrifices of many victims: pigs, dogs, cattle, sheep, even sometimes human beings. He was helped by the Wu, a kind of sorcerer able to negotiate with the evil. the number, and the nature of the sacrificed victim on a particular day to a particular ancestors could be fixed thanks to divination. In the case of the ancestors of the common people, sacrifices symbolizing death and renewal were offered during fall and spring. Sacrifices to the ancestors of the high nobility were more frequent. Different types of sacrifices were offered as prescribed according to the evolution of civilization. In the beginning, there was heaven, so Chinese people offered blood because it's the most uncivilized food. Distant ancestors did not know the use of fire, so they were entitled to raw meat, blood, tasteless big soup called da geng, and dark drink, which was in fact water. To the nearest ancestors, who themselves had been a part of the civilized world, people offered tasty food and alcohol. Spicy delicacies and sweet beer represent the refined achievement of the society of the time. The ceremonies concluded with banquets, during which the descendants ate that food intended to the nearest ancestors and drank a large amount of alcoholic beverages. The ceremonies could sometimes even end in orgy, especially by the end of the Shang dynasty. Over the centuries, the practice of ancestor worship extended to all layers of society. Everyone had his own family temple or small domestic altar. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the ancestor worship was the focus of major debates between Chinese people and Western missionaries. This is what has been called the Chinese rites controversy. The question was whether the tribute to ancestors was religious or not, and therefore could be considered by the Church as superstitious or not. The controversy ended with a ban on Christianity decreed by Emperor Yongzheng in 1724. Only few missionaries were allowed to stay at the court thanks to their scientific knowledge. Nowadays, in China and in the countries of Chinese culture, people continue to practice the ancestor worship, and the notion of filial devotion persists. At home, on a small altar, one displays the photo of the deceased parent, tablets with his or her names and dates, incense, and offering cups in which there are fruit like peaches, symbolizing longevity. The tributes to the ancestors by family member could be daily, weekly, or during festivals. The third day of the third lunar month is called Qingmingjie. It's the feast of pure radiance. It's the equivalent of our All Saints' Days. People honor their dead by cleaning their graves and offering them a meal. They burn incense, candles, and paper money to make sure that the ancestors lack of nothing in the afterlife. And at the same time, the family takes this opportunity to gather for a banquet. Now, in the 21st century, it's also possible to honor our ancestors on the internet. Indeed, websites provide a fully customizable virtual shrine dedicated to one of our ancestors. Firecracker noise can be programmed to warn him that we are thinking of him or her. We can choose to add flying butterflies, which is a homophone of the word longevity, and flowers. Dishes can be selected, as well as a little boy symbolizing a grandson making devotion for us. Our ancestors can be sure that they will always be pampered. I hope you have enjoyed this week about the netherworld and the afterlife in various cultural areas. For next week, I invite you to put your wings on, since we shall be concerned with the lofty realities of the heavenly sphere and the belief that these realities have generated in humankind, again in a wide range of civilizations.
的歌曲节呢，它的热闹程度可不亚于我们的过年了。那当地人呢都穿上像我这样的壮族服饰，非常的隆重，而且还戴上了绣球。绣球呢代表的就是吉祥如意的意思。那落月呢是壮族的祖先，而宁明又是落月民族的发祥地。今天除了唱山歌，同时呢还有1年1度的祭祀仪式。那现在呢大家看到的就是载有落月始祖的这个雕像啊，浩浩荡荡队伍就是走向了会场。这个会场他们呢都是盛装出席，而且是载歌载舞。
在神像巡游后，能歌善舞的壮族同胞们以歌会友，用最隆重的方式迎接远道而来的贵客。
我现在是在2015重左宁明落月根祖祭祀大典的现场。现在现场的1000名落月族后裔是身着特色民族服饰，以当地地道的宁明壮话唱起了迎客歌，喜迎八方宾客前来参加祭祀。
在祭祀大典上，25位来自东盟及全区各地的落月民族后裔代表，身着当地特色民族服饰，手捧香土撒向木棉树，供奉秽土，象征落月大地后裔同根共土。随后，司火礼宾在圣火礼仪的引导下走上祭坛，从圣火护卫手中接过圣火炬，点燃圣火炬，寓意落月文化香火源源不断。来自全区14市和东盟国家的落月族群后裔代表走上祭台，送祖招恩，并跳起特色落月民族舞蹈，告慰先祖，祈福安康。整个祭祀大典持续近1个小时。
我们是泰国人，也是宗族人的，然后今天很开心来参加，因为会更了解宗族人的文化，
是挺自豪的。我本身是壮族人，然后今天参加这个祭祖大典的话，对壮族有了更深的了解。
在中国东盟跨境备农大联欢现场，来自中国以及越南、泰国、老挝、缅甸等东盟各国的演员以及留学生欢聚一堂，同唱一首歌，共跳一支舞。壮族民歌《壮乡美》、越南语歌曲《越南中国》、宋干文化集体舞等精彩的节目以及欢乐的泼水祈福活动，将宁明3月3歌节推向高潮。
我感到很开心，因为我们这些东盟青少年的国家是联手一起表演的，所以我感到我们越来越像一个兄弟姐妹一样。
今天下午在岷江河畔，妙趣横生的水上民族竞技活动让人大开眼界。广西电视台新闻频道主持人还专门组成了一个团队，与捕鱼高手一决高下。